Welcome to the Hot Girl School, the podcast where we redefine confidence and go way beyond the reflection you see in the mirror.
We're your hosts, Lauren and Danielle, here to empower you to embrace your inner radiance because confidence is so much more than looks.
Whether you're strutting into an event or conquering the boardroom, join us as we explore topics like self-love, inner strength, and owning your unique journey to confidence.
So grab your favorite drinky and turn up that volume because you're about to unleash your true potential.
Unfortunately, assholes are everywhere. So in today's episode of the Hot Girl School, we are going to get into tactics that you can use and share stories on how to not take things so personally. Let's get into it. How have you worked on not taking things personally?
I hate to say this because I feel like this is probably not the right answer. I kind of feel like I was just born like that. I don't know if that's a thing. That sounds so stupid.
Lucky you. We can't all be as blessed as you, Lauren. I was just born that way. I don't take anything personal.
It takes a lot.
You've never taken anything. You've never felt like hurt by something when you were younger. You're telling me you've never taken something personal.
Of course I have. And I think you're like, shut up. That's bullshit.
She's really thinking. She really has to think here for this one.
Of course I have. Like I can think of, did you ever when you were little have, I think we just called it the book. This was in middle school. Did you guys have a book like you and your best friend and you would take it home and you would write notes and you would pass it back and forth and bring it to the next person the next day?
We didn't have a book, no, but we definitely did like the note thing. But it wasn't like all collectively in like a journal or like a burn book like they have in that movie. But we definitely did the note passing thing.
This is not a burn book. This is like notes that you pass back and forth. Jesus Christ.
Like the Mean Girls
book? I went to like the totally wrong direction. The book is
when you were saying it, I was like, this sounds like the Mean Girls book. Where are we going here?
Oh, I guess I didn't think of that because that's not what I was thinking. So it's the book. You just go get like a 5-star freaking notebook and you choose one friend to do it with and you're the best friends and you pass it back and forth. And it's like, whatever, they're hilarious to go back and read. And one day I got the book back from my friend and all it said was in big letters on the page, I want to stop the book. And of course, I just lost it because when you're in 7th grade and there's literally no explanation, and I've had a few friends over the year when I was younger, all under 18 years old, just stop being friends with me. And so in those cases, I've taken it personally because there wasn't an explanation. And I think after that, I kind of just grew my thick skin and was like, all right, that's on you. You got to handle it somehow. Obviously, you cry it out and you're sad and you're trying to grasp for closure. But when you're that young, nobody knows how to have the hard conversations about that. So
do you think you grew thick skin or do you think you put a wall up to where you're like, I'm not going to let people get that close because I don't want them to hurt me again?
For a while, it was probably the latter because I became, oh my gosh, we should totally do this to each other. I don't know, maybe you've done this. So there's this test. I love this test. And it's a great thing to actually do on dates, which we will go over this test. And the test discloses if you are interested in acquaintances or quality friendships. And when I took this test, I was in college and I was very much into acquaintances. Like I wanted to go into the room. I wanted to have all the friends, know everybody, be like the little life of the party. And I've noticed that I really keep my friends like that. Like I'm an acquaintance person. I always have a lot of acquaintances. And then as I've gotten older, I've realized that is so unfulfilling. And what do I get out of this? Like some cute pictures? I don't care about that. So I've come a long way from like being the arm's length friend that sometimes we can be. And it's translated into really only wanting a super small circle. So it hasn't changed my friendships. It's changed it for the better. Like the wall has come down and I let very few people in. But I think it affected me, which is why I kind of became so aloof with things.
Sure. I did not have that experience.
Like
I
the
used to
friend
take things
rejection
so
or the wait, the friend rejection or the acquaintances?
no, no, the taking things personal. I definitely have taken things personal, and I still do sometimes. I just have developed skills to be like, that's not going to send me into a tailspin, But
Yes.
man, I wish I had that thick of skin earlier on. It took me a long time to develop a thick skin. I've definitely it it would take a lot for me to take something personal at this stage, but I think that how I got there or how I think we could help people get there is I did something that probably not a lot of people do, which is when I would feel that feeling like that, your eyes tear up, your voice cracks, or you feel that like gut punch when you're like, God, like that just really hurt my feelings. I would, instead of getting upset or being mad at that person or talking through it, I would ask myself, why do I feel that way? Why? Why is
Okay.
this affecting
Yes.
me? Why is that
Most
hurting my
people.
feelings?
Like,
Right?
I love that about you. That is a skill that you have to acquire. That is not something that people just
For sure.
automatically are like, "Oh, what did I do?" Because nobody wants to look at themselves when something goes sour. That's the last place you wanna look. You don't want to admit any fault, and your ego doesn't want to be blamed for whatever it is. So, what
Totally.
age did you start asking that question? And do you feel that you now take the blame for things that maybe you shouldn't have, or you look inward when it's really not about you?
Great questions. I started doing it in business. So I definitely it was around the age of 23 is when I started with the why questions. I had
That's
read a
young.
book on like emotional intelligence and was like, okay, this is part of my problem is that I'm taking things personally when you can't control how people are going to be. There's assholes everywhere. There's always going to be assholes. No matter what you do, you're going to encounter an asshole at some point now, in the past, and in the future. They're there. So how do we deal with them, right? And how do we
Can I
stop
ask
taking
what
things
the book
personal?
was? What was the book so we can share that?
I don't remember. I don't remember what the book
Oh,
was. I can
girl.
find it. Yeah, I can find I mean,
Okay.
we're not gonna age me, but it was a long time ago. So, I started doing it mostly in business, and then I realized, "Oh gosh, this can translate into friendships," because I am a recovering I say recovering because 'cause I'm always recovering from it, people pleaser. Because like you, I wanted a lot of friends. I naturally love people, and I realized through getting hurt by being that way and being the good friend to everybody that it's better to have a smaller circle and to be really intentional about your friendships. But learning how to not take things personal is life-changing.
Mhm.
It's freeing. It's you things roll off of you. It's just a really cool thing when you can be like, I'm not a sponge. You're not going to soak into me. What you just said isn't going to hurt me because I can't control you. I can only control my reaction to you. So the number one thing that helped me get there was looking inward and going, why do you feel this way? Because typically it's triggering an insecurity. When you feel a personal attack, there's an insecurity that you haven't dealt with or that maybe you're not aware of. And as soon as you can become of it, you can deal with it, you can move past it, and that's no longer going to be a trigger for you.
That takes a lot of work. That takes a lot of self-awareness. That takes a lot of discipline and dedication. I would say that that takes a certain type of friend to have in your life, and you don't need a whole group of friends to support this new version of you lifestyle, but to not have anybody to lean on when you are trying to not take things personally, like we would be good friends to somebody who's maybe in the beginning of that because we've already been through it. And of course, there's certain topics that they just hit, and but the thing is they're not about me. That's the funny thing. And so when you can realize like somebody just said something and you're just like, okay, and they say it to get a rise out of you. So if you're not giving
Oh,
them
for
that rise
sure.
because it genuinely doesn't bug you, I hate to say you're winning, but you kind of are. And that's where, we'll bring it to toxic relationships real quick. All they want to do is keep poking. They want to keep poking. They need a reaction out of you to like keep everything engulfed in flames so that the fire stays alive. But my mom used to always say when we were little, if you don't run, they can't chase you. Right? Because you come crying
Oh,
like,
100%.
between my brother or my sister. And
Yeah, and
they
I
would
think, it's like toxic relationships, there's toxic friendships too, and I think that
oh, yeah.
as you get older, it's easier to avoid those, but when you're younger in, like, school age especially, it's more difficult, and people are mean, and if you can start to recognize that they're a toxic person, you can distance yourself, but if you want to feel better, if you wanna be more confident, if you want to take things less personal, the first step is going, I'm willing to do some work to make that happen. Because if you're not willing to do the work, nothing in your life is ever going to change. If you're going to play the victim mindset, if you're going to be woe is me, that's going to be your life. There was
Mhm.
this so we all know that I love Ed Milet. I talk about him frequently, and he is a mentor of mine, Ed Milet. I will be on your podcast one day, just so you know. And he gave this speech at this business conference in 2017, and I will never forget it. He talked about how when you die, and if you have the opportunity to meet two people, the person that you died as or your potential, what would that mean to you? Like if you died and then this almost like a video played of what you could have been if you were putting in the work, think about that. Like you want to meet your potential at the end.
Mhm.
You want to put in the work. We're all here for something. We're all here for a purpose. So if you're wallowing and taking shit personal, that is preventing you from fulfilling your potential and meeting that person when you die.
I love that. That's, like, such a great visual. I just, like, got the screen and all that
Like
stuff.
a movie.
But it also
Yeah,
keeps
the
you a
movie of
victim.
Lauren. Like, this is the movie of Lauren. Are you walking towards your potential, or are you gonna see somebody that you are like, "Dang it, I really missed the mark."
Yeah, and it's there for all of us, and whether you choose to follow that path or not is up to you. I wanted to say that the taking things personally also keeps you a victim, and
Mhm.
that is not hot.
Nobody
My
likes a
favorite saying.
victim.
I love saying not hot. Being a victim
That
is
is
not
not
hot,
hot.
and those people are like the first people out of my life. I cannot handle that because that literally goes to tell me that you're just gonna point the finger at everyone else and you're not gonna take a look at yourself. And why not? You
Yeah,
can't be
like, and
that bad.
it's okay to go through, like, hard times, right? And, like, sometimes you are the victim. Sometimes shit happens, and it was shitty that it happened to you, but what are you gonna do about it? Like, those are the friends that I struggle with where they come for guidance or, you're being the teacher, kinda like we talked about in a previous episode, and you're giving them stuff that you know will help them maybe because you did it for yourself or you've been through it or whatever, and they just keep talking about it, taking no action. That's when I'm like, I don't have patience for this. Like, do something. You got to do something to help yourself.
Which they obviously admire that about you or whoever you are going to. It's very flattering when somebody says, "Hey, like I'm struggling with this. I know you've been through this. I want to learn from you." And then to your point, they just kind of listen to you and they take the time and they take your time and do nothing about it. Maybe it's just not the right time for them to go down this new path, but if you are serious about not taking things personally, it requires a huge effort. You have to be diligent. Write it down in your little notepad, carry something with you, write it in your phone, send yourself a voice note. What is it that triggered me? Why? And you might not get the answer right away.
Mhm.
It might take a day or two. Maybe you have to cry. Maybe you have to journal it. Maybe you have to talk about it with some friends. And then once you have some time that's passed and the answer comes to you, it's a lot easier to what do I want to say? Not fix it, but it's a lot easier to pinpoint what it is and why, and then maybe learn how to like instill a new reaction.
Yeah, like you make the identification. It's sort of like the root cause. I've identified the root cause and now I can solve the problem. So you identified the root cause of why you were triggered or why you took it personal, and the next time that asshole comes around, you're like, "Huh, I know why that should make me feel bad, but I'm not going to let it cuz I did the work."
Do
Right?
you feel more triggered by taking things personally in business, friendship, or romantic relationships?
Friendship for sure. I would say that business, I have got a thick, thick skin. And
Mm.
I mean, the things that I've been through in business are wild and things that a lot of women shouldn't have to go through. Story for another day, but I've got some thick skin there. Um, I would say used to be relationships, but I have a really strong, solid marriage now that we've put in a lot of work. We've had our tough years. We'll probably have tough years again, but we know that we want to work together. And so there's this trust and comfort and safety in that. Where I feel like with friends, sometimes friends can surprise you. You can have friends that you're like, man, I thought they were wonderful, and they throw a zinger at you that you don't see coming. And even though you've done the work, you're like, oh shit, that one got me. So I
Those
would say
things.
now that's where I'm the most vulnerable for taking things personal is probably in the friendship realm. What about you?
Yeah. I think it's business. I think mine is business. I mean, same as far as romantic relationships go. The toxic relationship really fucked me up for a long, long, long time. And it required a lot of help to get to where I'm at now. So
Yeah.
but I can still feel myself taking things personally and getting triggered. But I have that conversation to have the nicer, more pleasant conversation about what it is I need
Yeah.
to discuss and being vulnerable with him to let him know, like, hey, this is what's happened to me in the past. This is why I'm reacting like this. I don't want to stay like this, but I just need you to be aware of like why that is my gut reaction. As far as business
Mhm.
goes, I mean, real estate's hard, you know, in the sense that like you can't please everyone. You lose something and it's like somebody can choose to stay in the house and somehow I still feel like, damn, I didn't do my job. I lost a listing because whatever, and those are the things that it's like, okay, that's where I sit down and I'm like, how can I change? What did I do? What did I not do? Was I offensive? But people don't give feedback. So it's kind of just throwing darts at like nothing, hoping that I understand where the target is. So without the feedback, sometimes it's a little bit harder in business.
Would it be inappropriate to ask for it?
Oh, I do every time. Every
And they
single
still
time.
don't they still don't give it.
They ghost me. Yeah.
PSA, if you're buying a house and working with an agent and you ghost them, help them. Tell them why. Tell them why. Feedback is a gift, and you should give the gift of feedback anytime you possibly can. That's terrible.
Yeah, it is terrible.
We
It
need a
really doesn't make
revision.
you feel well. And real estate's a hard one. Like you don't get paid until it closes. So no matter how much money you spend on
Totally.
advertising, no matter how many hours you pour into it, something goes wrong or you do one thing that pisses them off and you're out. Like, fuck, dude. Talk about people pleasing. Like, we have to be
Yeah,
such chameleons and make sure that we are who you want us to show up as, which the more I get into real estate, the more I do feel like it should be you're hiring me because you like me, not you're hiring me because I'm going to bend down and do whatever you want in your way. I'm supposed to be the expert. You came to me
sure.
because you trust me to get the job done. So, I do think that real estate's the wild, wild west. There are really not
So
a lot of rules.
this is a little off topic, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you think that because like the internet, right? And then the people come and they think that they know more or that they have an idea of how it goes. Like I think that you hire a real estate agent because of their capacity to market, because of their list, like their who they can push stuff out to, how long they've been in the industry and their ability to negotiate, to understand the legalities and the contracts. And I think maybe sometimes people hire agents just because they like their Instagram or they like the way that they look or
100%.
the way that they sound, right? And but they don't actually have the skills to back it up. So is that fair? Is that a fair assessment, would you say?
I feel like it is. I do feel like it is. I have certainly not been hired because I did not have enough Instagram followers. And I just, I said it to
Wait,
the
you've
partner,
been
the
not
girl.
hired? Like you've been not like someone decided not to work with you because you didn't have enough Instagram followers.
Correct.
Wild.
And I looked at the chick I was working with and I said, I'm sorry, does he want me to be an influencer or does he want me to do a job and sell his house? Like, to me, that's a no brainer. If I'm always on Instagram,
Okay. I want to elaborate on this because I think that people assume followers means that they have certain skills or that they're more established. And you can be good at something and not have a social media presence. I think there is, that's not to say that I don't believe in the power of marketing and things like that, but you can be a complete badass and people not know about you. So I think the stigma, and the reason I wanted to touch on this is that if you are in an industry or you are doing something where you feel like you don't want to start because you don't have the following, start anyway. Do it anyway. Build the skills. If you have the skills, they'll speak for themselves and you will make money. You will make it happen.
But also, not everything needs to be public. I've learned
Totally.
from watching some of the top producers in my Scottsdale office, they don't have an Instagram. I mean, they have one, but they're not using it. They don't show up to meetings. They
It's
don't
your sphere.
anything. It is
It's your sphere.
absolutely. It's like this one specific person. Like it's who he knows, and like do the reason why I kind of stopped posting just solds, which this is a very tender topic for me, is because I would have people comment. It's okay. Let's back up to when you post a just sold on social media. People include the
Mhm.
address and the price.
Yep.
People know what you're making. And when you start
Yes.
receiving comments, well, that's a big paycheck, or what did you deserve to do that? Or we should go to dinner and dinner's on you. We want to go to this restaurant. I'm sorry, what? Did I come to you and ask for part of your paycheck because you sold something and made a good amount of money? Like that I
Yeah.
take personally. I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck to do with this information because I am highly offended that you think I should just take you to dinner because you saw how much money I made. The thing
Well,
is, you
it's the
don't know how
highlight
much money
reel,
I made.
right?
I'm
Yeah, it's the
sorry?
highlight reel. They're like, "Oh, but they don't know that that property you'd been working on for 9 months to sell."
Or
Especially
that you have
higher
a
end
referral
listings. Those
fee. I have to pay my assistant. I
Yeah,
have to pay the office. What comes to me out of like a giant paycheck is minuscule compared to what you think I make. And I
sure.
think that that's where like the sting is because there's already so much shit about real estate agents that we make too much money, but it's all
We
these
should do
shows and
like a specific one for agents because I feel like there's especially in that industry, you gotta have a thick skin. There's so
oh
many
yeah.
things that you could take personally.
Yeah. It's a hard one. And because you are your brand, it's
Yeah.
totally different. Like, if you get fired, you get fired. It's not like you work for a company and, like, you lost the account, but the company takes the hit and you still have a job.
Yep.
I'm
Totally.
out of fucking
Well, and
job.
you said something, and this is applicable, like, for any industry, for any business type, for anything that you're doing. We started talking about the sphere. And the sphere, for if you don't know that phrase, it means, like, your network, the people that you know, your family, your friends, and your referral base and how you build that. A lot of the software companies that I've built have been through affiliates, through partnerships, through relationships. So the takeaway that I want to make sure we touch on is that no matter what you're doing, relationships matter. And it doesn't matter if that person is at the top or they're the janitor. How you treat people matters. And the better you get at building the relationships, the better your business will do, the better you will do, the better everyone around you in your sphere will do. So I think it's really important that if you're like, gosh, I don't have a sphere, I don't have a big sphere, create one. And you do that by intentionally building relationships.
Yeah, go network, go be friendly. People really will give you the business if they like, know, and trust you. That's
Yeah,
pretty
so
simple.
why don't we wrap up today with like 5 tips, 5 or 6 tips that we can give our listeners for building relationships.
Oh, man. I'm like, I don't even know where to start. Go ahead.
Networking, definitely networking,
Oh, I was
asking
gonna,
people to
like
coffee. Yeah,
yeah, I was
asking
gonna,
people to
like
coffee, investing in the relationships that you already have and telling them about your business, getting comfortable with your elevator pitch and discussing things. And then in doing that, it's going to relate to what this entire episode was about, which is learning how to not take things personal. You can solicit feedback. That can build a better relationship. Sometimes when you have a friendship or a coworker or someone and you simply say like, "Hey, how am I doing? Do you have any ideas on how I could improve or things like people will gladly give that to you and they will see you as humbled because you're willing to go like, "I know I'm not perfect. Teach me, help me be better." And you're soliciting it.
yeah, those are all
Those are
good.
some off the top of my head.
Yeah, I was gonna say learning people's birthdays, not going after the sale, but going after the person. I wanna get to know you. I wanna go to dinner with you. I want to get to know your family. When are your kids' birthdays? Learning family members' names, calling them after they went on a trip. Those are all things that help build it. I can personally say that it's a lot easier when you genuinely like the person. If you don't like the person and it feels forced, it's just rigid. It's like, all right, it's on my calendar. I have to call them. Whereas I'm a very intuitive based database person. And so when my calendar doesn't have to say who to call when, because I just get the feeling in my stomach and I'll call them and they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, this giant thing just happened to me and I wanted to call you, but," and it's like, "Oh my gosh," like once you can get on the same timeline with somebody and you become really close with them, it's really special, and then you realize, like, this is so much more than a transaction. I'm not just trying to make money off of you, and I think that's what people forget when they're networking is they go in with dollar signs in their eyeballs, and they're trying to just get the sale, especially in sales. But if you can remember that they're a person first, that is far more important. Get to know them, find the common ground, give them a compliment.
Yeah. Yeah, starting point, right? Are you doing something to make money? Are you doing something to make a difference? And
And is
for
it short
sales
term or is it
especially,
long term? Short term
yeah,
or
and
long
for
term?
sales especially, it's like solution driven and you can apply that to friendships. Like, I want to help you. Do you genuinely want to help that person? And that's going to help you build faster friendships. It's going to help you close more deals if you're in sales. If you're going after it from like, I'm in this role, whether it's a company or a business that you started or it's real estate, I'm here to really help someone. And then you're always acting in that way, you'll close deals. It'll
Yeah.
happen. They'll come.
Yeah. And that's a really rewarding feeling. I have so many stories I could share about relationships and real estate, but we'll save those. But it's very just you it becomes so near and dear to your heart when it's no longer business and the friendship truly is in place and you look back and you're like, "Wow, like I've known you for almost 10 years and like we're just good friends." Like it's so sweet, but not everybody can become your best friend, even though you're trying to build a
Yeah,
relationship
there's
with
not
everyone.
enough
And some
capacity
people
for that, right?
some people it stays a business relationship, but it still improves and it becomes a near and dear relationship, even though it's mainly business based.
Yep. All right. Well, this was a fire episode. It was super fun. And I think that, the big takeaway is start working on not taking things personal. And the tip that worked for me was asking yourself why and really being curious about why it's bringing up that feeling for you, reading some books, evolving on it, and focusing on building better relationships.
Yeah. I think that mainly starts with yourself and
Yeah.
trying and just not pointing the finger.
Look
Take a
within.
look,
Don't play the
scan and
victim. Don't
yeah,
be a
look
victim.
within. Yeah. Oh man, victims.
Be a hottie. Don't be a victim. Be a hottie.
Oh man, and this transfers to everything. This goes to business friendships, romantic relationships, family relationships. This is not just business, but yeah. All right. Well, you can find us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at The Hot Girl School. I think that's it.
Bye, hotties.
School is out.